Howdy folks, this is Systems of Equations, still in Chapter 6. This is day 5, the second part of the substitution method. So substitution, we know that the first step is you have to solve one of the equations for one of the variables. So the hardest ones we left off with, one of the equations would have a coefficient of 1 for its variable. So we can see here this second equation has a y value with a coefficient of 1. So I would solve for that. So to get y alone, to move a negative 2x, we would add 2x, and we get that y equals 2x plus 14. So now that we have a substitute for y, where I see y in the other equation, which would be the top equation, I would substitute in the 2x plus 14. So we have negative 4x minus y is equal to 2x plus 14, and that's currently equal to 16. Remember, there is an invisible 1 here, so we have to distribute the negative 1. We have negative 4x, negative 1 times 2x is negative 2x, negative 1 times 14 is negative 14, and we're equal to 16. Like terms, negative 4x minus 2x is negative 6x, still minus 14, still equal to 16. To move a minus 14, we would add 14. So we're at negative 6x equals, I did that wrong, that would be 30. And then 30 divided by negative 6 would be negative 5. Now that I know that x is negative 5, I can plug that back into the first step to find y. Remember, you can use any equation, but that one from step 1 is always going to be the fastest since it's solved for what you're looking for. So 2 times negative 5 would be negative 10, and negative 10 plus 14 is 4. So my ordered pair answer, x comma y, would be negative 5, 4. All right, let's practice one more like that. We can see here on number 2, the bottom equation, the y has an invisible coefficient of 1. So solving for that, to move a 7x, we would subtract 7x. So we have y equals negative 7x plus 21. So now that I have y alone, I can substitute y in the first equation with what y is equal to, negative 7x plus 21. So we have 7x minus 2 times y is negative 7x plus 21 equal to 0. We distribute 7x. Negative 2 times negative 7x is positive 14x. Negative 2 times 21 is negative 42, still equal to 0. So then when we combine like terms, 7x and 14x is 21x. Still minus 42 equals 0. To move a minus 42, we would add 42. So 21x equals 42. And 42 divided by 21 is 2. Now that we know what x is, we can substitute it back into the first step. So y equals negative 7 times x is 2 plus 21. So y equals negative 14 plus 21. So y is 7. Ordered pair answer, x comma y, would be 2, 7. All right, number 3, we still have an equation, the bottom one, where the coefficient of y is 1. So to get y alone, to move a negative x, we would add x. So we have y equals x plus 1. Now that we know that y is alone, we would substitute y in the top equation with what y is equal to, x plus 1. So we have 3x plus 8 times x plus 1 equals 19. Distribute 3x plus 8x plus 8 equals 19. 3x plus 8x is 11x plus 8 equals 19. To move a plus 8, we would subtract 8. So 11x equals 19 minus 8 is 11. 11 divided by 11 is 1. So then you would substitute back in, x equals 1. So 1 plus 1 gives us 2. So our ordered pair would be x comma y, 1 comma 2. All right, so our next one, we can see we don't have a variable that has a coefficient of 1. So we're going to try and have to make as good a choice as we can. So if I were to solve the top equation for x, I would divide by 7, and I would definitely get two fractions, 5 over 7 and 2 over 7. If I were to solve the top equation for y, I'd end up dividing by 5, and I get two fractions, 7 over 5 and 2 over 5. Right? If I were to solve the bottom one for x, I would end up dividing by 6, and I would actually only have one fraction, right? 4/6, which would be 2/3. The 0 over 6 wouldn't be a fraction. And if I were to divide by 4, same thing. I'm going to get 6 over 4, but 0 over 4 wouldn't be a fraction, so that would only give me one fraction. So I'm going to use the bottom equation. X or y is probably about the same to solve for, so I'm just going to go ahead and solve the bottom for x. So to move a negative 4y, I would add 4y. So then I'm sitting at 6x equals 4y. So then when I divide by 6, 4 over 6 would be 2/3 y. So now that I know what x equals, I would substitute in for x in the top equation, 2/3 y. So I have negative 7 times 2/3 y plus 5y equals 2. So that would give me negative 14 over 3y plus 5y equals 2. When I combine like terms, I'm at, let's see, negative 14/3 and 5. It would be 15/3, so that's going to be 1/3 y equals 2. To get rid of a multiply by 1/3, we divide by 1/3 and find out that y is 6. Now that I know that y is 6, I would substitute it back in. So x equals 2/3 times 6 would give us 4. So our ordered pair answer would be 4, 6. So the difference in what we're learning today, it's not a new concept. It's just the fact that sometimes you're going to have to work with, whoops-a-daisies, sometimes you're going to have to work with fractions. All right, so on number 5, we'll try and make as good a choice as possible, right? So if I solve the top for x, I'm dividing by 2, I'm going to have fractions. If I solve for y, divide by 5 fractions. So really, bottom x and y, I'm going to have fractions. So best case scenario, what fractions am I going to want to work with? So I'm actually going to solve the top for x because I see that it has a coefficient of negative 2. And I know that if I divide something by 2, it's either going to work out pretty, it's going to be an integer, or it's just going to be 1/2, right? It's not going to be some crazy fraction. So to get rid of a minus 5y, I'm going to add 5y. And again, the choice is yours. So we have negative 2x equals 5y minus 9. So then when I divide by negative 2, I've got x equals negative 5/2 y plus 9 over 2. So that is for x. So now in the bottom, I'm going to replace x with what I just found. So you have negative 4 times x is negative 5/2 y plus 9 over 2. Right? Still minus 6y, still equals negative 14. Probably want to grab a calculator. Negative 4 times negative 5/2 would be 10y. Because negative 4 times negative 5 is 20 over 2 is 10. Negative 4 times 9/2 would be negative 36 over 2. So we've got negative 18. Still minus 6y, still equals negative 14. Remember, you can use your calculator for those distributions, no problem. So then combining like terms, 10y minus 6y is 4y. Still minus 18 equals negative 14. To get rid of a minus 18, we would add 18. So now we're at 4y equals 4. And 4 divided by 4 is 1. So then I would substitute 1 being y back in. So x equals negative 5/2 times 1 plus 9/2. So that's going to be negative 5/2 plus 9/2. So that's going to be 4/2, which is 2. So my order paired answer, x comma y, would be 2 comma 1. I have to kind of smush it in there. Number 6, trying to find the easiest, prettiest way. Oh, I definitely don't want to divide by 7. That's ugly. I'm going to solve the bottom one. Right? Go with the bottom one because it's all even. And when it's all even, the fractions are going to be prettier than if I throw an odd in there. I'm going to go ahead, let me just solve it for x. Doesn't really make a difference. So if I want to solve the bottom for x, I'm going to add 16y. So I'm at 14x equals 16y minus 10. Then when we get rid of the multiply by 14, the dividing by 14, make sure you reduce your fractions. We have 8 over 7y minus 5 over 7. Look at me, I tried to pick the bottom, so now I have to deal with 7, and it happened to me anyway. All right, so now substituting in for x in the top equation, we have negative 7 times 8 over 7y minus 5 sevenths, still plus 8y equals 5. So then when we distribute, we have negative 8y, positive 5, ooh, it's special, plus 8y equals 5. So then when we combine our like terms, negative 8y and 8y is hasta luego. I just have 5 equals 5. That is true. That is always true. So that is infinitely many solutions. So you can see the difference today is you definitely want to grab a calculator because you're going to have some fractions to work with because you're going to have to divide to get your variable alone. Have a great day.